Thunder rolled across the shattered plain as dusk fell over Nemi 4. Overhead, alien dreadnoughts eclipsed the stars, their engines humming with predatory intent. On the battered colony wall, Mira Holt pressed a battered comm against her ear, boots scraping scorched stone. Far below, spotlights danced through the haze, searching, calculating, waiting for any sign of defiance. Inside the command bunker, the air tasted of metal and sweat. Flickering holomaps cast blue light across tired faces. Engineers, miners, and former soldiers, refugees from 100 lost worlds, waited for word from above. In their silence, Mira sensed both fear and a stubborn kernel of hope. A sudden burst of static broke the tension. The Council's ultimatum blared across every frequency. Attention, human colony Nemi 4. This is Arch-Strategist Varuk Vass of the Galactic Council. Surrender your settlement and all technological assets. Any resistance will be met with total eradication. You have 1 hour to comply. A hush swept the bunker. Someone's knuckles whitened on a rifle. Dalton Reeve, thick-set and grizzled, grunted from his corner. We should have left months ago. We can't fight those things, Mira. We don't even have enough power to run the shields. Myra's eyes lingered on the wall display, a slow, blinking line marked Power Reserve, 6%. She looked back at Dalton, voice steady. We never had a choice. You know that. If we run, they'll hunt us down. If we surrender, they'll strip us for parts and leave us to starve. Someone in the shadows, young, voice trembling, whispered, "What about the weapon? They're after the prototype, aren't they?" Nervous glances, hope and dread mixing. Mira allowed herself a half-smile. Let them think we have a weapon. It's the only edge we've got. Above, on the Council flagship, Varuk Vass observed the colony's silence with mild contempt. He leaned over his operations table, motioning to a junior officer. Their broadcasts are erratic. Their shields are almost down. Proceed as planned, minimal ground engagement, target the bunker directly. I want the supposed superweapon intact. Inform the troops, expect desperation, not ingenuity. He turned to his lieutenant, a reptilian figure with anxious eyes. Humans are only dangerous when they get lucky. We'll finish this before sunrise. Back in the bunker, Mira took a measured breath and faced the crowd. Listen up. They outnumber us, and they expect us to break. That's their first mistake. We're not giving them what they want. Dalton scowled. So what's your plan, Commander? She tapped the table, bringing up a flickering schematic of the colony's tunnels and old mining shafts. We make them believe the weapon is real. We funnel them where we want them, cut them off, and bleed them for every inch. No heroics, just stubborn survival. Get the decoys online. Trap every corridor. Our goal isn't to win. It's to outlast them. Murmurs, some nods. The engineer, Noor, checked her tablet. I can jury-rig the old mining drones for distractions. Not much, but enough to scramble their sensors. Do it, Mira said. If they want to play hunter, let's give them ghosts. Dalton grumbled, but didn't protest further. I'll rally the outer posts. At least let us know before you blow the main reactor again. His attempt at humor drew a few tight smiles. The comm crackled. Incoming, ground troops landing, North Sector, a sentry's voice cut in. Heavily armed. Dropping in waves. Mira locked eyes with Dalton. This is it. Everyone, move. Noor, take the east shaft. Dalton, cover the comm array. If you're not fighting, you're jamming, sabotaging, or hauling the wounded. No glory. Just get it done. Boots thundered as the bunker emptied. Mira lingered a moment, staring at the old family photo taped to her screen. Her brother, lost on Europa. She folded the picture, tucking it into her vest. Outside, night descended hard. Alien searchlights swept the ruins as armored troops advanced, silent, practiced, expecting compliance. But as their landing craft touched down, a series of low rumbles echoed from the colony's heart. The first wave stumbled into a maze of collapsing scaffolds, electrified puddles, and rigged mining carts, Myra's traps, improvised from scrap and human cunning. On the flagship, Varuk frowned at the sudden losses. Pull back. Analyze their defenses. They're stalling. A junior officer hesitated. Sir, sensors show anomalous energy spikes. Possible power signatures consistent with. Varuk cut him off. A bluff. Humanity's favorite trick. Press forward. Their desperation is our advantage. Back below, Mira ducked into a narrow tunnel, heart pounding but steps measured. She relayed quick orders over encrypted channels. North breach holding. Nor, status. Nor's breathless reply, drones are in place. Council troops are firing at shadows. Dalton's rough voice, Comrade sabotaged. They're blind on this side. Myra's lips curved in a grim grin. Good. Keep them guessing. Don't get killed. Her squad pressed deeper, setting more traps, planting false clues, old fusion coils, gutted holes painted to mimic power cores. Anything to reinforce the illusion of a doomsday device waiting in the shadows. As the hour ticked down, Mira found a brief moment alone. She peered through a cracked viewport at the horizon, where the Council's fleet loomed, a monstrous wall of certainty and pride. She keyed her comm, voice barely above a whisper. They brought a fleet for a handful of humans. Let's show them why that's not enough. Somewhere, across the colony's battered sprawl, someone laughed, a sound of pure, defiant hope. And in the cold dark above, Varuk Thas watched, certain of victory, oblivious to the trap closing around him. The first shots of the final battle echoed into the night. The game had begun. Smoke drifted through the broken hallways as Mira moved with purpose, weaving between support columns and scattered crates. Each footstep echoed the urgency pounding in her chest. From overhead, the thunder of distant bombardment rattled loose ceiling panels. The colony wasn't crumbling, it was bristling with defiance. Through her headset, Nor's voice broke in, crisp and focused. Decoys in Sector 4 are active. Council infantry's wasting plasma on empty crates. A smirk crossed Myra's lips. Keep the pressure up. Remember, they expect us to hide, they don't expect us to make them chase phantoms. As she crossed a junction, she caught Dalton near a barricade, covered in grease and sweat. He shoved a panel into place, then looked up, wary but impressed. Those traps work better than expected. Didn't think the Council could panic this fast. Mira crouched beside him, lowering her voice. Their arrogance is their weakness. They came here looking for a fight. We'll give them a maze. From the makeshift command post, holographic displays glowed with real-time data, enemy positions, triggered traps, the shifting lines of a battlefield defined by uncertainty. Myra's eyes narrowed as she studied a new blip, a Council patrol veering off course, drawn toward the old reactor. She patched through to Nor. Ready the fusion core hologram. Make it look like it's about to overload. Seconds later, a shriek of alarms echoed through the comm. Council voices crackled, panic rising. Mira watched as the patrol stumbled upon a blinding projection, their sensors spiking. The aliens pulled back, barking orders in 3 languages. False readings danced across their screens. Back aboard the flagship, Varuk Thas stewed in growing frustration. He paced the war room, boots clicking on polished metal. Report. His lieutenant approached, bearing a report. Sir, humans are using jamming fields. Every tunnel shows energy signatures. We can't distinguish real from fake. Varuk's eyes flashed. They're bluffing. Advance the main force. Locate the weapon and secure it. The ground campaign intensified. Council troopers advanced, their discipline unraveling as each corner offered only empty barrels, detonated mining carts, and dust. With every failed push, human resistance seemed to grow stronger. Inside the tunnels, Mira darted between positions, offering encouragement and sharp instructions. In a dim-lit corridor, she found a group of volunteers setting up a barricade. One, a skinny youth with trembling hands, caught her gaze. He tried to steady himself. "Will this even hold them back, Commander?" She knelt, checking the charge on a makeshift EMP. "We're not holding them back forever. Just long enough for them to doubt themselves." At a side entrance, chaos exploded. Council soldiers rushed in, met by flashes and flares as booby traps activated. Mira signaled to Nor, "Collapse Section B." Now. A low rumble shuddered through the floor as ceiling supports gave way, sealing off the invaders and forcing them to double back. The alien screams faded into silence. Dalton arrived, face streaked with soot, breathless. "You saved my people, Mira." "Didn't have to, but you did." She clapped his shoulder, eyes intense. "This fight's not about old grudges. If we don't trust each other, we're finished." He hesitated, then nodded. "All right. You have my support. All of it." In that moment, the fractured colony found a heartbeat. Miners and engineers began working together without friction, inspired by Myra's example. Meanwhile, Varuk sat in his command chair, studying the feeds. His second-in-command, clearly unsettled, voiced concern. "Sir, humans aren't behaving as predicted. They're using tactics we haven't seen before." Varuk's glare could cut steel. "Irrelevant. We control the orbit. They're stalling for time." Below, Mira intercepted a council transmission. "They're preparing for a sweep, likely heading for the old control center. Nor, rig it for remote detonation." Dalton's voice entered the channel. "If they find nothing, they'll start searching for answers." Mira replied, "Then we give them answers. False ones. Broadcast a coded message on their frequency, mention the prototype as shielded, moving locations." Dalton grinned. "Send them in circles." "Got it." The council troops grew more desperate, chasing signals that always seemed one corridor away. Holograms flickered, radios echoed false movement, and humans moved like phantoms, always a step ahead. Every small victory for the invaders brought only confusion and mounting casualties. Late in the night, Mira paused to catch her breath in a shadowed alcove, replaying a fractured memory, the faces of the fallen, the friends lost in the Orion Wars. She pressed a hand against cold steel, drawing strength from the ghosts. Nor's update came softly through the dark. "Sector 3 is clear. Council's falling for every trick. But they're getting closer to the command level." Mira nodded, voice soft but unyielding. "Let them come. We hold them here. This is where we make our stand." A tremor shook the ground. The enemy had breached the main corridor, closer than ever to their imagined prize. In the command post, Mira checked the final defense matrix. Dalton joined her, no trace of his earlier doubt. He glanced at her with quiet respect. "Win or lose, you made us something more than survivors." She met his gaze. "We'll show them what humans can do, together." Outside, the council's armored column rolled forward, unaware that with each advance, they played deeper into Myra's hands. From the darkness, the resistance readied their last defense, weapons charged and hearts steady. In orbit, Varuk stood at the precipice of impatience and obsession, fixated on the promise of easy victory. He issued the command with absolute certainty: "Prepare for final assault on the weapon. End this." Deep in the bowels of Nemi 4, the humans braced for what would come next. The game of shadows was almost over. The real test was about to begin. The bunker trembled as the council's assault cannons pounded the ancient stone above. Sparks danced from exposed conduits. Mira crouched by the central console, eyes fixed on the flickering security feeds. Council troopers, row after row, pushed toward the heart of Nemi 4, their advance relentless, shields crackling as they cut through the last barricades. Nor's anxious voice filled the comm: "Main defense grid is down. We're out of time." Myra's fingers danced over the control panel. "Initiate fallback, Section 12. Evacuate the noncombatants to the maintenance shafts. Only leave volunteers behind." Dalton, gripping his battered rifle, leaned against the reinforced door. "We can't hold much longer, Mira." She met his eyes, calm beneath the surface tension. We don't have to. They think the prototype's behind this door. Let's not disappoint them. Beyond the blast doors, a muffled explosion echoed, metal shrieking. Mira gave a single nod. Nor triggered the release sequence, doors hissed open, and smoke spilled inward. Council shock troops surged through, weapons raised. They found Mira, Dalton, Nor, and 4 others kneeling, hands on heads, surrounded by what looked like a massive warhead bristling with alien tech. Varuk's personal guard entered, fanning out in tight formation. The arch-strategist himself followed, immaculate even in battle. He strode forward, confidence unshaken. He regarded Mira with cool amusement. Commander Holt. The Council commends your resourcefulness, though you must realize this is the end. The device. Activation code. Now. Mira lifted her gaze, face unreadable. You've made a mistake. Varuk smiled thinly. You humans never know when to yield. You lost this war before it started. All that remains is your final humiliation. Dalton tensed, but Mira steadied him with a look. She rose to her feet slowly, dust swirling around her boots. You think you've won. But you're standing in a room full of variables you never calculated. Varuk's patience wore thin. I won't ask again. The code, or your people suffer. Nor's trembling voice, barely a whisper, Mira. But Mira spoke over her, eyes locked on Varuk. I'll give you the code. But only you can enter it. Step forward. Varuk hesitated, then swaggered to the console. The warhead glowed with ominous blue light. He leaned in, eager to seize his prize. Suddenly, Myra's wrist flicked, a concealed transmitter pressed between her palm and the device's interface. Instantly, every hidden screen in the room flickered to life. A surge of static, then dozens of feeds appeared, Council landing zones, starship decks, command nodes, all overrun by chaos. The faces of human engineers and miners flashed across every screen, wiring overrides, sabotaging circuits, planting portable EMPs. Dalton's voice rumbled with awe. It's working. Nor tapped a switch on her belt. Fleet comms offline. Their entire network's gone dark. Varuk spun, realization dawning too late. What have you done? Mira stepped away from the device, never breaking eye contact. You spent your time chasing ghosts, chasing the promise of a weapon. The truth? The colony is the weapon. Every mining drone, every control panel, every scrap of alien tech you left behind, we repurposed it. Hacked your protocols. Laid traps for your arrogance. On the feeds, Council troops faltered. Plasma rifles sputtered, armor powered down, transport ships listed helpless in the dust. The flagship's bridge dissolved into pandemonium as control panels sparked and alarms wailed. Varuk's composure fractured. He drew his sidearm, aiming at Mira. You've doomed yourselves. She didn't flinch. We gave ourselves a fighting chance. You gave us the tools. We just put them to better use. Dalton lunged, wrenching the weapon from Varuk's grip in a struggle. Nor jammed the lock, doors sealed, trapping the Council leadership inside with the resistance core. Mira addressed Varuk, voice sharp, you never tried to understand us. You thought we'd be predictable, easy. But fear creates innovation. Desperation forces unity. Varuk pounded the console, trying to override the lockouts. You'll all die for this. The Council will obliterate this world. Myra's reply was quiet, almost gentle. Maybe. But we'll decide how this ends, not you. Outside, chaos rippled across Nemi 4. Council squads, blind and uncoordinated, were driven back by hit-and-run attacks. Human fighters emerged from hidden alcoves, striking in waves. Automated mining rigs rumbled to life, blocking corridors and herding alien soldiers into traps. In the command tunnels, Nor and her team unleashed a final EMP wave, knocking out every remaining Council comm in the sector. Inside the bunker, Varuk collapsed into a chair, defeated. Mira watched him, pity flickering in her gaze. You never should have come here, Varuk. You made us desperate, and that made us dangerous. Dalton leaned against the wall, exhaustion heavy in his bones. What now, Commander? Mira straightened. Now, we send a message. To the Council, to every world watching. We're not extinct. We're not helpless. We're human. Nor patched the broadcast through, routing it to every active comm on the Council fleet. Mira stood before the camera, eyes clear and voice unyielding. To all who listen, this is Mira Holt of Nemi 4. We're still here. We are not your prey. If you want our surrender, you'll have to earn it. As the signal echoed across the stars, the humans braced for whatever came next. Nemi 4 had become more than a battlefield. It was proof humans could not be broken by fear or erased by force. And the galaxy, for the first time in a generation, was finally watching. A dull, metallic hush filled the bunker as the last of the enemy transmissions faded. Mira scanned the room, reading the anxious faces of her people. Shadows from emergency lanterns played across battered consoles and dust-choked air. Every eye in the Resistance Command Center fixed on the display screens, where Council icons flickered, red with failure. Noor pulled off her headset, her hands shaking. Council systems are still down. Their fleet's blind. Our fighters are sweeping the southern access tunnels now, Council squads are falling back. Dalton, face streaked with sweat and grime, moved to Myra's side. We've routed their ground teams, but we're not out of this yet. The flagship's still in orbit. Mira nodded, her expression hardening. That's where this ends. Across the bunker, Varuk Vas remained slumped against the wall, his uniform now as disordered as his pride. He stared at the comms panel, lips pressed in a bitter line. For a moment, the great strategist was only a man, undone by certainty and disbelief. Dalton knelt in front of him. You thought this would be easy. Thought we'd break. Why? Varuk's eyes glinted. Humans always fractured under pressure. That's what history said. Mira leaned closer, lowering her voice. History only tells half the story. You never studied what happens when we're cornered. Outside, the tide had turned. Council forces staggered through broken streets, cut off from orders, their advanced armor failing. Human squads, miners wielding repurposed mining lasers, refugees using Council rifles, moved as a single, adaptive swarm. Their numbers were thin, but each step was calculated, every ambush deliberate. Noor patched into the orbital channel, fingers flying over the controls. Flagships hailing us. They're demanding Varuk's release. Mira strode to the comms terminal, activating a live feed. The Council Admiral appeared, face stiff, eyes darting with uncertainty. He spoke through clenched teeth. Release our strategist, and we will withdraw. You cannot possibly win against our fleet. Mira stood tall, the battered colony crest on her jacket stark in the screen's glow. You're wrong. We already have. We're not hostages. You are. She stepped aside, letting Varuk's image fill the frame, beaten, silent, and entirely at her mercy. The Admiral faltered, voice tight. What do you want, human? Myra's answer was direct. You leave our skies, leave Nemi 4, and you broadcast a full report to your council. Tell them what happened here. Tell them what humans are capable of. Or your most decorated strategist becomes the face of your defeat. A tense pause stretched between worlds. Dalton glanced at Mira, eyes questioning. She shook her head, not yet. In the dim chaos of the bunker, Noor's console flashed. Their fleet's powering up their main cannons. They're going to try to blast us from orbit. Mira exhaled. Initiate fallback plan Delta. Across the command post, engineers activated their last trump card, remote access to Council ship subsystems, painstakingly planted during the earlier hack. Noor unleashed a burst of code, sending corrupted signals into the heart of the flagship. On the feed, alarms blared behind the Council Admiral. His voice rose, frantic. What have you done? Mira didn't smile. Level the playing field. Dalton watched as sensor data scrolled across the displays, power loss on 2 council ships, targeting arrays frozen. In orbit, dreadnoughts drifted, no longer able to fire. The colony survived another second, then another. Varuk's composure shattered. He lunged at Mira, rage in his voice. You're condemning your people to destruction. The council never forgets. They will return. She met his glare without blinking. Then let them come. But they'll remember this day. And they'll hesitate. Nor relayed, council ground teams are retreating. Our people are holding the perimeter. We have full control of the colony's defense grid. Dalton surveyed the battered survivors now entering the command center, men and women bloodied but alive, leaning on each other, faces lit with a new fire. You pulled it off, Commander. Mira turned to her people. No one does this alone. This was all of us, every last one. The feed from the flagship crackled to life again. The Council Admiral, defeated, offered a short nod. We are withdrawing. This will not be forgotten. Myra's reply was measured, heavy with meaning. That's the point. Within the hour, Council warships broke orbit, battered and limping, engines flaring against the dawn. Across the ruined colony, cheers rose, relief mixing with disbelief. Dalton walked with Mira through the silent streets, past rubble and scorched earth. You think they'll come back? She glanced upward, sky brightening beyond the smoke. Maybe. But we'll be ready. And so will every other world that watched tonight. Nor joined them, clutching a makeshift radio. The message went out. Not just to the Council, other colonies, other refugees. They heard us. Myra's lips curved, a rare smile. Then we've already won more than we hoped. Dalton watched her, respect clear in his gaze. What now, Commander? Mira looked at the rising sun, shoulders squaring. Now, we rebuild. We remember. And we make sure no one ever forgets what happened here. High above, the stars blinked as silent witnesses. For the first time in a generation, hope returned to Nemi 4. The colony, scarred but unbowed, was no longer a rumor or a warning, it was a promise. Never underestimate the humans.